Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Adam Kiss Show. Today, I'm very excited to be talking about the movie Cleopatra, starring Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor, along with Rex Harrison. Very excited. It's one of the great epic movies of all time from the 60s, one of the golden ages of epic movies. It was an age when there wasn't really such a thing as CGI, so they really had to build the sets, they had to have all the extras in there, and I believe at the time it was the most expensive movie ever made. So, plenty of great stories about that movie. But before we get into all those, take a minute, please subscribe to the channel. Really helps us out a lot. Give this video a like and share to everyone, to your friends, enemies, everyone, and comment below what other videos you'd like me to do. All right, let's get right into Cleopatra. So when I think of epic movies, Cleopatra is definitely on the top 10 list. I mean, when I think of an epic movie, what immediately comes to mind is Ben-Hur, Spartacus, Cleopatra, Quo Vadis, all those kind of great movies from the 50s and 60s especially. That was really such a golden age for those sword and sandal Roman epic movies or medieval epic movies or all those great epic movies from around that time. Really, I mean, they weren't all Roman epics. I mean, there was another one. El Cid was a great movie. So many other movies like that. There was some other Robert Taylor movies like Ivanhoe, things like that, which are really great for what they are. Just epic movies with a historical subject. Obviously, you don't go to them for historical accuracy. You go to them for a grand spectacle, for entertainment, and they're really well done in that way if you go in looking for that and not necessarily perfect historical accuracy or things like that. Because these, it's hard to be historically accurate with these movies. I mean, a lot of them get put down for not being historically accurate. Like another movie would be Braveheart, which is a great movie, but it was panned for being not historically accurate. But that's the deal. When you have to make a great story, that the story comes first and the history comes second. And I totally agree with that. Otherwise, just make a documentary. If you want everything to be exactly as it is, just do a documentary and then you can tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth. However, as they say, history is written by the victors, so who knows what the truth is sometimes. Sometimes we only have conflicting accounts or different versions, so you're always going to upset somebody. There's no way to please everybody, and which is just a lesson in life. You can't please anybody anyway. But anyway, enough for my words of wisdom for the day. Let's get into Cleopatra. So it's starring Elizabeth Taylor, Richard Burton, and Rex Harrison. I believe that it went through several different castings. It was definitely planned for a while. I believe at one point Joan Collins was possibly going to play Cleopatra. There were several people who were going to play Mark Antony and Caesar. They all ended up dropping out. I believe maybe Peter Finch was possibly attached to it, just off the top of my head, if I remember correctly, but I could be wrong on that fact. But several people were attached to it in either case, so probably most people in Hollywood at the time were approached about being in the movie. But it really worked out great. It was definitely one of those where I believe that the script was kind of being written day by day on certain occasions, like the night before. So definitely it started without a completed script, at least without a completed script that everyone involved was happy with. And obviously this is where Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor ended up having their affair, which made all the headlines at the time. It was a big scandal at the time. This is where it started. And then funnily enough, another producer decided to put them in a movie together, The VIPs, and it was actually released before Cleopatra was released. So they kind of took advantage of a lot of that publicity from those tabloids. Because again, this was the biggest deal at the time. This was like the big affair of the time. And obviously they ended up having a rocky relationship. I believe they got married, then they got divorced, then they got married again, and then I believe they got divorced again, yeah. So they definitely had a very interesting relationship. It's definitely, some people mentioned that it kind of mirrored the tempestuous relationship between Mark Antony and Cleopatra in real life. So art imitates life or life imitates art, who knows? But it's definitely a lot of interesting stories. The movie was generally shot fairly chronologically, shooting Rex Harrison scenes first as Caesar and then moving on to Mark Antony and Cleopatra scenes, which is kind of the worst way to shoot a movie in terms of with the production costs and everything, and with economy. It's a great way to shoot a movie for the character's progression. Certain movies have been shot like that, like I believe E.T. Spielberg chose to shoot chronologically simply because he was dealing with a lot of children, and he felt that they would understand it better, chronologically, and they wouldn't understand. Okay, we're shooting the last scene today, and then we're going to shoot the first scene in the movie tomorrow, and then we're going to shoot in the scene in the middle of the next day, which is how most movies are done. I know from experience. In my work, obviously in my recent film, My Last Words, which has just been finished and is just about to be submitted to all the major film festivals. We just finished post-production, but we shot, all over the place, all different scenes at all different times, and nobody would ever guess. That's the beautiful part. It really becomes a magical thing. But anyway, it's a great story. I mean, the story of Cleopatra is a great cinematic story. It's been done several times since then, I'm sure, but I haven't seen any of them, but I'm sure it hasn't been done as well. It had also been done in the movie Antony and Cleopatra in the 1940s with Vivian Leigh and Claude Rains. And the funny tidbit there is that Roger Moore, the future James Bond actor, he was an extra in that production. But anyway, I know all these little tidbits of trivia, facts floating around my mind. But anyway, it's just a great movie. I don't want to spoil too much of the plot for those who don't know the history, but it's very dramatic. I really like the way it goes. Some people today would probably call it a slow movie. It's definitely one of the longer movies, at, I believe, over 4 hours long, or roughly around that area. I don't recall exactly how long, but at the time it was certainly one of the longest. Even today, I believe it's one of the longest movies ever. It's in two parts. Obviously, in those days, movies had intermissions, which is a great thing. I mean, I wish people did that more often. Like, intermissions in movies were great. It's like them going to the theater or something. I mean, hey, just my 2 cents, but I'd love to bring that back. Maybe I'll do a movie one day with an intermission. Write in the comments below if you'd like to see that. Anyway, Cleopatra, great movie. Great script, even though it went through a lot of iterations and everything. I think it all came together. The performances, everything. So I'm happy with it. I think it's a great movie, and that's all I wanted to talk about today. So before you go, give us a subscribe if you haven't already, and comment below what other videos you'd like me to do. Thanks for tuning in to the Adam Kiss Show. That's all, folks. That's all.